Thank you for the introduction. I'm glad to see you this morning, sunny time. And today I will speak about PHP profiling using XDebug, XHprof, and Blackfire. So today we'll cover what is profiling and why do we need it, essentially how to do this profiling, how to view and analyze profiles, and what are the common bottlenecks in our applications, and how to avoid them and maintain performance. Every time when it comes to profiling, about discussion profiling, the first question it occurs that why profile if application works fast? But then the word fast, it's quite unsure, because fast, how fast? Half a second, is it fast enough? Probably yes, probably not. Albert Einstein said that everything is relative, and in this case I absolutely agree with him, because the speed of your application depends not on some constants but on trends, on expectations, on business requirements, and everyone decides for himself which is fast enough and which is not. So why optimizing? Why we try to profile and optimize? First of all, we get faster response from our application. Our clients usually like when page loads fast, so it's good enough. We can handle more requests per second, and then we can save resources, and as a result save money, which is more important. Profiling, as the Wikipedia says, is a process of application runtime characteristics measurement for performance, analysis, and optimization. So in easy words, profiles is a source of knowledge on which exactly operation and how much we spend resources during the application run. But usually when I say, okay, let's profile this, people say, I don't know, I don't need profiler to know where the application is slow. I will fix it right now without profiling. Of course, it will work if you are discussing some small piece of code that is fit in your mind all completely, but probably no. The whole application optimization without profiling is just shooting in the dark, because you never know where the resources are spent. So what application parameters might be of interest when we profile it? First of all, it's execution time. So how much time were spent during the page run or someone else. The CPU time, the memory usage, disk operation time, so how long did the application wait for disk system to respond on some data request. Network time, the time that was spent on waiting on response, and database management system response time, at the time where the application just waited while MySQL responds some data in query result. So how does it work? Profiler is a special C application in PHP case that is compiled as extension, and you can include it in the PHP configuration. So it runs on demand for every request and collects some information that is useful for you. This information is collected to the profiling log, and then you can open it and analyze it. So how to profile in PHP? There are some options. The first of all, it's PHP itself. You all do it. Just micro time true. Some code, micro time true. But there are some advanced things that will help you to profile application, not in some piece of code, but the whole application. These are XDebug, XHprof, and Blackfire, and today we will discuss this thing one by one. So PHP itself, it's obvious. Let's go to XDebug. XDebug has a website, xdebug.org, and the documentation, it's a link. You can not click on the screen, but if you will open the presentation, they are active. So first of all, XDebug is not a profiler. It's a debugger that can profile. Why not? First of all, it gives a huge overhead, so the application execution time is multiplied by 2 and more just for no reason. And optimization for XDebug is 90% useless when it gets disabled. So you have some long execution time under XDebug, you profile it, you optimize it, you disable XDebug, nothing changed. Why? Because you optimized XDebug overhead. Congratulations. And XDebug is not for production server for the same reason. Of course, if you don't want to make users wait 2 times more But if you still debug with prints, XDebug is a good thing. It is supported by PHPTour, NetBeans, Atom, Sublime Text, Cloud9, Vim, and whatever you use. Does anybody use something except this list? Emacs? Ah? Oh, ZenStudio. I think it is supported for sure. And step-by-step debugging, you just put a breakpoint, wait until it hits, and you can see a stack trace. You can view and modify variables in the scope. And that's a good thing. It's an amazing tool for debugging. Let's go to XHprof. XHprof has a page on PECL and documentations on PHP.NET. It has some advantages because the overhead is really minimum, about 10%. So it may be used in production, but it also has some disadvantages, like it doesn't support PHP 7 officially, and it can measure only the execution and CPU time and memory. But there are some forks that support PHP 7. The first is tideways.io. It's a big service built on top of XHprof, but I don't have time to show it in this presentation. You can check it out. And it's just the second link is just a fork of original XHprof tool with PHP 7 support. And what about measuring execution and CPU time? It's usually just enough. So how to start? It's really easy. You install your XHprof extension. You set the output dir is the directory where the profile logs get saved, and enable the application entry pointed. So you have application entry point. You say XHprof enable with some flags and XHprof disable, and you get data of this profile. So XHprof disable returns array of calls. Each call is listed like method that called, method that was called, and some information about these calls. Like call times, how many times the method was called, wall time in microseconds, CPU time, memory usage, peak memory usage, and so next what? We'll need to save it. How? Just easy. We include the XHprof libraries and create XHprof runs default object and save the profile information using this object. These files are available in the XHprof repository. You can either require them or put in the project and even modify them if you want some customization. But how to check results? We should take these two directories, XHprof library and XHprof HTML, put it in the same directory, start a web server with root in XHprof HTML, and we will get the page like this. I know that it is mostly invisible from the end of this audience, but here are the method names. Okay, let's start from here. It's the overall summary. Here you see the wall time, the CPU time, the memory usage of the whole application run, and the same information for each method that was run during this application running, like number of calls, and the same wall time, CPU time, memory, and so on. Knowing ID of two profiles, you can compare them. So you open one profile, you see that something is slow, you optimize it, you make profile again, and then you compare it just by substitution of two IDs. And it looks like this. So in case you have profit in the application performance, you will have negative difference. In case it gets slow, you will have positive difference. But not so cool. If there's something fancy, of course, we just have to install GraphViz. Then we'll have view full call graph link on the profile page. It looks like this, view full call graph. And when we click it, we see something like this. It doesn't fit the screen, and even two screens, and probably even four screens. And when you see it for the first time, it's like this cat. You don't understand where to go. But it's really easy. Let's get out of this mess and know how to read it. So each block has the class and method name. The inclusion time is the time that includes all execution time of the methods that were called from this method. And the exclusive time is the time of this method execution without all methods that were called from it. And the method call numbers, so how many times it was called by other methods in your application. There is also a thing called hot path. It's the path where the most execution time or resources were spent during the application run, so you can follow just hot path and find the methods that costs a lot. So in case we want to get even more information, we can modify this drawer because it's open source, and we can easily add CPU, RAM usage, or whatever we want. So another tool we have is Blackfire. Blackfire has a website, blackfire.io. There is a documentation available. So what is profiling tool Blackfire? Blackfire was started as an XHprof fork, but it was completely rewritten. It's a product of Essential Labs. It has really small overhead and can be used on production servers. It's supported on Linux, FreeBSD, Windows, macOS. It supports PHP 7, of course. It's freemium. You can see wall time and memory usage for free. And CPU time, disk I/O, network, and other features start from $19.90 per month. But there is 14 days trial you can use. And today we have Essential Labs stand in this in our hall. And using my nickname, Silverfire, you can get 1 free month of one free month of full feature set. And it has quite good documentation. So how to install is described very well in the manual on the website blackfire.io. But Blackfire is a little bit different from XDebug and XHprof because it consists of multiple tools. It's a website to view and analyze saved profiles, Blackfire.io. It's the PHP extension that is used to collect this information, the agent to send saved profiles to the website, and the Chrome extension to push the button profile. Also, it has CLI tools that help you to profile some CLI scripts. It turns on by trigger, so after you install the Chrome extension, you can click the you can visit the page you want to profile and press a big red button. After that, the profiling panel will appear on top of the page, where you can see the execution time, the input-output time, CPU usage, memory usage, network usage, and you have a view profile button. Clicking it, you will be redirected to the Blackfire.io website with pretty same scheme as we've seen on the XDebug, XHprof page, but it is a little bit filtered, so only the most valuable calls are displayed here in the main section of the screen. To the left, we have the functions that were called during the application run, and clicking on any of these blocks, we can view an information about this call, like how many times it was called, the wall time, the input-output, CPU, memory, and so on. And we can see methods that were called from this method. We can also extend this method and see other methods that were called from it, but they were not so so they didn't work too long, so they were hidden by default. Blackfire also supports profile comparison, so you just make two profiles and click compare to them, and you can see pretty the same. So here we have profit in 70 milliseconds, and in percentage, 98% of performance grow. But how had I reached 10x speed up? It's really easy. I disabled XDebug, so don't turn it on in case you don't want to get slow. Also, Blackfire has many interesting features like manual XHprof profiles upload, so in case you don't want to install agent and automatically send something to blackfire.io, you can just use XHprof and upload this profile manually to Blackfire.io to analyze it with a JavaScript beautiful web page. Metrics testing in PHP unit, you can define some metrics in your PHP unit test, like how many times some method should be called during the test case run, or how much CPU must be consumed at most. So you can configure it in PHP unit tests, and on run, XHprof will check these assertions and notify you in case some of methods work longer than you set to work. Built-in profiles on Travis or Jenkins, and notifications on GitHub, GitLab, Slack, HipChat, email in case something goes wrong. And the interesting thing is the average profile of number of executions in case your script doesn't work slow always, but sometimes you can run Blackfire with 10 samples, some PHP script, and it will find the average, and probably you will see that some of runs are slow in some cases. So now we know how to draw it, but how to make the application faster? The answer is analyze. But analyze what? First of all, we should know what we want to profile to analyze. First of all, we profile things that are slow, that are marked to be slow. The application initialization, essentially when you have a framework that bootstraps a lot at the beginning, probably some of bootstrapping things are slow, and profiling is a good way to know it. And the popular pages of your website or application that are most visited by users, and of course they should be fast. So profile analyzing is quite easy. You follow the hot path, you think what causes the result, and you find the right method to blame. Fix it, profit. There are some popular bottlenecks in the applications, like bad or complex algorithms, nested loops, disk input-output operation, bad SQL queries, communication with the universe, like another application by HTTP, console command execution, and so on, but these are the popular ones. How to deal with it? Bad and complex algorithms. You should profile them, analyze, optimize, try to rewrite it completely in a different way in case it doesn't seem to work just in small optimizing. In case it is still impossible to make it faster, make it as synchronous as it is possible. And the last hope is caching, but you know, caching is not always a good thing to do. Disk input-output. Lazy loading, in case you don't need something right now, delayed, maybe you will never need it. SSD is quite cheap enough and quite reliable, so in case you have still servers running on hard disks, switch to SSD, it will work faster. Don't forget to tune in PHP your real path cache. It's the cache that, okay, when PHP tries to include something, it should resolve the address of in your file system to disk node. So to know it, it calls really a lot of stat calls, and if you want to get rid of this a lot of calls, you can turn on the real path cache and tune it. So your PHP application will determine the location of some directory only once and use it multiple times. Also, opcache is a good thing. You can tune it, of course, to have the very small % of misses, and it will help your application work faster and use faster storages if this is not enough, like memcache, Redis. Bad SQL queries. You should analyze query, explain, optimize it. In case it is required, you should configure indexes in your database management system. You can also tune your DBMS and try to avoid complex queries, but the last one is so-so, because sometimes the complex query will work faster than a simple one. So it's just a matter of situation. Communication with the universe. Remember that SSL handshake takes much time. About 200 milliseconds at least, if the network is fast enough. So in case it is possible to communicate with some other server via HTTPS under the secure VPN connection, it's a preferred way. So in case you call some remote resource that uses HTTPS more than once per connection, consider using not HTTPS but wrap it in some secure channel like OpenVPN. And get prepared that your endpoint will get down. Not today, tomorrow, not tomorrow, next year, but nothing is absolutely undead, so be prepared and use asynchronous where possible. because queues really help to deal with remote resources that are located somewhere in the universe. And the console commands execution make it asynchronous where possible. The same with queue messages. Try to minimize them, and in case it doesn't help, you can cache it. So here's the time for a small example. For example, we have the profile that has a hot path of controller, some report generator that calls find items method, and it calls SQL query that costs 900 milliseconds. So 6 milliseconds exclusive execution time, 10 milliseconds, 100 milliseconds, and 900 milliseconds. The most obvious way we should think is that the query is bad, so we should check it. We open the queries log, and we see that the query is pretty simple, but it's pretty interesting to deal even with this simple query. Maybe there are no indices for the date column, probably. Or there is too much data to return, so the lag between the query and the data is just because of network time, or maybe your DBMS doesn't read it too fast from your disk storage. Or maybe it's a slow network connection to DBMS. Or even table is locked too often, so you send the query, the table is locked, you wait, table is unlocked, you get data. So it's a moment when this query may work fast and may not. Maybe a combination of the above. Or maybe everything about it is wrong. How to know it is just to test it, try one thing, try another, investigate. That's the only way. But let's look at this graph once more. Do you think we are missing something on it? Really, we are missing the call times. So probably here in find items, as we see the query, it doesn't look too different. And it was called more than 2,000 times. Probably it's an algorithm error, and MySQL is not the problem of the slow page at all. So maybe your report generator has the wrong algorithm. But in the call trace, you will see that the blame method is execute query because it works long, but it's not true. So not always you see on the first time is the right answer. So don't be lazy to dig deeper. Profile errors on production. Remember to use triggers to activate them, because profiles take disk space and you can easily run out of it. It's really not a comfortable moment when you enable the profiler on the production server, profile, and then oops, no disk space, the application is down, oh crap, where is the profile logs, go, delete, you can't do anything because you can't even write DataStash history, and the whole server is down. Not a good thing. Frameworks help in application performance is really huge, because typical problems are already solved, and most probably they are solved good in your framework. They usually give an inspiration for a good code and performance tricks. And they have debug panels. All modern frameworks, PHP frameworks, use debug panel. That is the first point of profiling in your application. When you develop the application, don't hesitate to use it, because it gives you some important information even without profiling using the tools we've discussed today. For example, in eFramework, I'm a part of eFramework core team, so I will show some things from the framework. We have a debug panel. The same panel is in Symfony, in Laravel, in Zen, so just use it. So it had the application logs, and in application logs you already can see the time that was the message captured. So in case I see that here is a bootstrap, and it was on 429 milliseconds, and here is the next model load in debug model, the same microsecond, but so you see the flow is pretty microseconds time, and here is the rendering view file. Oh, 10 microseconds time plus. So even analyzing application logs, in the debug panel you can see the performance things of your application. Of course, if you put some debug information from them. SQL queries logs, you can see how much time was spent for query execution, and in EU we have a explain button, so you can see the explanation of the query in just in one click. The fast profiling with PHP that I showed at the beginning of the section, when you write micro time, in EU we can write begin profile, end profile, and it will be displayed on the in the debug panel, like performance profiling and the execution time of something. And we should try to remember about architecture and the importance of the clean code, because it's easier to even to profile this code. Avoid good classes and methods. When you have the method that doesn't fit the screen and it works slow, you will never know what is in this method is slow, so you should split it for multiple methods and then try to profile again. Don't do it, and then you don't need to split it. Make methods as atomic as it possible, so it will help you not only in profiling but in the application support as well. And remember about algorithm complexity, because some algorithms are complex by definition, and if you use this algorithm you should know how it will work, because now when you have I don't know, 10 items in your database for the test purposes, and in 1 month you will have 1 billion items in your database, it will work completely different. So remember about the difference between development set of data and the production set of data that can be significantly higher. And don't spend too much time on early optimization, because running and working application is better than not working but fast application. So do the application first, and then you will have time to fix code, to profile it, to make it faster after some better release or whatever. And don't forget to upgrade to PHP 7, because it brings up to 40% of application performance, or even to 7.1. It will give you up to 30% on top. Configure your caches, op cache, real path cache. They are not constant, they can be configured. Go to your server. There are many manuals in the internet how to check whether the application uses the cache correctly, whether the hit percent is not too low. So don't hesitate to do it, and think about what you do, because tomorrow you will see your code and you should say, oh, I did bad code yesterday. No, but not yesterday. A year ago. I did a bad code 1 year ago, but now I know how to do it better. So think what you do, learn, and be in good mood. Thank you for a good listen. It's question time. By the way, before questions, I will show you this thing. Is a book 24 Days of Blackfire. It was written by Fabien Potincier from the Central Labs. Today the Central Lab stand is present in the hall, so you can get these books for free. Here are okay, let's see. Here you can see many pieces of code and real examples how to optimize them. So in case you are interested in application optimization and profiling, it's a good opportunity to get a book for free. In case you don't want to kill forests on the airs, you can just open the online version and read it. It's absolutely the same. Here are the slides link. You can see them when you have time. It's QR code on the same page. And I will be thankful if you rate my talk on Joined In. There are also other talks of PHPTour. So visit Joined In and rate the talks you've attended. phpbench.com is the website where the PHP benchmark things are collected on the same page, and it's interesting thing to know that, for example, array key exists is much slower than isset array with some key and other things. So visit that page. You will probably know something new for application performance. And thank you once more. Question time.
Mais voilà, c'est le moment des questions. On est un petit peu en avance, donc vous avez le temps d'en poser.
No, in English, please.
Oh, in English? Yes.
Questions, please, in English.
Yes, yes.
Are you asking?
I don't have questions.
Ah, okay.
Okay. On a 15 minutes d'avance. We have 15 minutes for questions.
Probably, yes.
Yeah.
Hi, thanks
Hello.
for your talk.
Thank you.
What are the limits of good optimization? It's hard to make a limit to optimize a system. What are the limits?
So, am I right that the question is how much should we optimize the application? No?
Yeah. Well.
As I've said at the beginning, it's all about the business requirements and about your expectation on how fast the application should run. So, of course, at some moment you will get the point where the optimization gets too hard and the time spent on optimization is more expensive than buying just one more new server. So, in case you get to, I don't know, like 20 milliseconds and going 20 milliseconds per page execution and going deeper is too hard, don't try to spend too much time on it, because there are some obvious limits of your server, of your application itself. So it will not go faster, but you will spend a lot of time.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
My question is more about the tools. You say that XHprof, Blackfire is at the beginning a fork of XHprof, and have you experienced the two tools? What's your feedback about the last one? Is XHprof a nice tool to start profiling, and is it open source? It's free for
yeah, XHprof is completely open source and free. You can use it, and it works pretty good, even on those graphs that are not very pretty from the first. Look like me. Oh, this one. So, yeah, it has a lot of methods that are not important during the run, like this one. They take, I know, like thousandths part of percent. But you will see the hot path. Yeah, you will have to scroll a little bit, and you will find out that the most slow, for example, in my case, was login that used disk. So it works, and in case you don't need too much and you just want to optimize some particular page and go forward, you probably don't need all the features of Blackfire. But in case you want to configure live monitoring of your application production that will capture every 100 requests and save them and somehow analyze, probably you need something more smart than just XHprof, but XHprof is enough for normal application optimization.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Some questions?
Yeah.
Hi,
Hello?
The slowest thing then that you found was logging, in your example.
Yeah.
Was there something that you did to solve that? If you've got a lot of logging throughout the application, do you shove it off in a queue because it's faster and lower latency to do that and then write to disk, or what?
That was just a local application, and I did it on purpose. I changed the log method to sleep sometime. So it was done on purpose, but in case log is the bottleneck of your application, indeed, yeah, you can log to some memory, like to RAM, and then to queue, for example, yeah, with almost instant access, and then use another process to retrieve it from queue and save somewhere else. But yes, in case the application is slow because of login, you should think either on minimizing login amount. So in case you deploy the application in debug or development mode, you will have dozens of logs that are not in interest. So don't do this in case you really want to do it. Thank you. There is a question from behind.
Hey, thanks.
Hello. Thank you.
Did you try other tools like Tideways or
Yeah,
XDebug plus Kakash Green?
I've tried Tightways, but it doesn't fit this presentation just because there is another tool based on XHprof, and it doesn't completely. It just provides a beautiful UI, but is not completely different. So I decided to show you a completely different tool, Blackfire. But Tightways is pretty good. I know that since the time I tried it, it was like more than half an hour ago. They changed terms of usage, and I've visited their site, but I don't understand from the first view how do they calculate the prices. So yeah, Tightways is pretty similar to Blackfire in the interface. So you can see JavaScript beautiful blocks. They are sortable. You can search in this tree, but nothing really special.
Just a point, Tideways is compatible with the XHprof format, so it's the only one compatible with PHP 7. So it's always worth a try, maybe. But just a PHP
it's compatible. It's compatible fully with the XHprof because it uses XHprof. So Tideways is the website that can display your XHprof logs in a beautiful JavaScript-based web application, but it supports PHP 7. Originally, XHprof does not support PHP 7, but Tideways and one more fork do this, so you can use it. Thank you.
Other questions?
Yeah, there is one.
Once again.
The debug mode make me think to another question. When you deploy your application in production mode, maybe the performance will be better just because of that mode. Do you think it's better to make profiling only in production to detect the real bottleneck, or maybe doing optimization in the development environment is
yeah, it's a bit tricky question because when you profile on your local environment, it may vary a lot from your production server because your laptop may be a little bit more slow than 32 cores, 256 gigs server. But in case it works fast enough on your laptop, it probably will work faster on production. In case you deploy it to production, it works slower for some unknown reasons. Yes, there is a good point to profile on the production, but remember that profiling on production should be done really in accurate way, not to break something, because first is the amount of data, the second is optimization, is the application slow down because of profiler. In case you use Blackfire and XHprof, it's not so significant, but it's still maybe felt by some users. So yeah, in case you need to profile on production, you do it. In case you see that application fast enough on your laptop, there is no way to install something on your production server without a good reason.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have time for one question. One question? No? Yes. So it's done.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to say that the audience is amazingly active as for 9 o'clock. Because yesterday at the same time there were only a few questions, and today it's like boom. Maybe you ask more questions because my English is not as perfect as yesterday. Speakers, so I hope you are enjoying of this talk, and you know something new, and your application will work faster. Thank you very much.